S22 Ultra after 72 hours. Now, if you've paid any attention to my channel, you'll know that I'm generally an iPhone user, but there's one Android phone that I've held near and dear to my heart over the years, and that's the Galaxy Note series. Over the years, the only Note that I didn't get was the Note 5, but I had every single one other than that. So as I said in a video I made not too long ago, there's part of me that's really upset and kind of mourning the loss of the Note series. I love the idea that every year Samsung took all its best tricks and rolled it all into one phone, and it was the Note. It was the only phone with a stylus, at least one that I would want to use. And the squared off design of the Note over the past several years has always looked better to me and felt better to me than the rounded S series. This year, now Samsung has dispensed with the Note. The Note is no more. Hasta la vista, Note. I suppose they're opting to allow the Galaxy Z Fold and Z Flip to kind of take the center stage that the Note once held. So they've basically rolled the Note into the S series, the Galaxy S series. At the very top of the line, they're calling it the S22 Ultra. The question everyone has is, well, is it still a Note? And the answer is yes. There's not much that's different than the Note 20 or the S21 Ultra for that matter, other than the S Pen, and that's actually a pretty good thing. As I've said before, I'd rather
get that. Could you try?
As I've said before, I'd rather there be sort of larger leaps forward in between iterations of phones. I mean, the Note 20 came out almost 2 years ago, and this phone is not really all that different than that phone, but we've pretty much reached the peak of what smartphones can do, at least in this current form. And considering what complete packages they are, I suppose that's not a bad thing, but there are some differences worth talking about. And since I've only had the phone for a few days, I'll tell you what those differences are to me at this 72-hour point, and ultimately whether or not I think it's worth you going out and grabbing one based on my current experience. First thing I want to talk about is the screen. I know this is the brightest screen Samsung's ever put on a phone. It has the nits of the sun. Whatever. Doesn't really make a huge difference to me because 99% of the time I'm indoors in a dark room. So 1700 nits of brightness doesn't really matter to me all that much. What is a huge selling point is the overall quality of that screen, and the S22 Ultra doesn't disappoint there. I mean, the screen is sharp. I noticed that right out of the box with the locked screen animation when it came on. And just as a brief aside, the lock and home screen wallpapers are some of the best that I've seen on a stock on a phone. These are really, really nice wallpapers. This was the first time I haven't actually gone almost immediately and gotten rid of the stock wallpapers and put something else on. Same goes for the theme of One UI 4. I haven't changed anything about that either. Very nice. We've come a long way since TouchWiz. In use, the screen is bright, sharp, in the way I've only seen on Samsung phones. I set the phone to the natural profile in the screen settings, and it comes out of the box with Vivid, and Vivid is just a little too over the top. The natural sort of mutes everything down a little bit, but it still pops a lot, and I really, really appreciate that. It looks fantastic. It's such a good-looking screen. I do have one complaint about the screen, though, and it's a complaint that I've had with most Samsung screens and really maybe Android in general, and that's the adaptive brightness. The adaptive brightness is just too aggressive on this phone. There are times in dark rooms when the adaptive brightness pulls down so fast, so much, that the screen kind of almost takes on a dull gray / blue tone underneath of the actual colors. And overall, I can see the adaptive brightness working whenever the lighting changes in any situation. Compared to the adaptive brightness that the iPhone has, this is a miss for Samsung. I leave the adaptive brightness on my iPhone all the time, and I almost never see it working, although I know it is. That's not the same case with the Samsung screens, and for a long time, I've just turned the adaptive brightness off and sort of put it in the middle somewhere, but that's not exactly great for the eyes, and I'm old and my eyes are gonna fall out of my head soon. I'd like to see the adaptive brightness not working, even though it is working, if that makes any sense. Number 2, the build quality of this phone. Rolling the phone in the hand, as it were. No rough edges. Can't feel any seams, really. No flex at all in the phone. I mean, none whatsoever. It feels like a solid block of material, and there were times when Android phones would kind of be hollow. This feels super solid and super good. The fit, the finish, all just right on point, and that makes me really happy. I was a huge fan of the S21 Ultra black color last year. It was kind of like the perfect black, and I love black. I don't know if you know that, but I love black. The matte finish felt fantastic, and I'm pleased to say that that's all still the case here. I love this black. It doesn't disappoint whatsoever. It may even be better because Samsung ditched that giant flap that extended out to cover the camera lenses on the S21 line. It makes the camera feel a little bit lighter, a little bit sleeker, and it's probably one of the best feeling phones that I've ever had. I was dismayed to see the curved screen back. Last year we got a break from the curved screen. When Samsung was all about the waterfall edge screens, I always had trouble with phantom touches. Like I would just accidentally launch something with my pinky finger, or my fingers would just wrap around. No matter what I did, it would be a thing. And I just really didn't like that. I was glad to see Samsung go away from that. I was skeptical when I saw that they had gone back to the curve here this year. But so far, no phantom touches. No phantom touches whatsoever. I don't know if the edge is just thicker than it used to be. Probably that's the case, but it just feels a lot better. There have been times when the screen has seemed more sensitive than I think it should be. Like I'd be hovering my finger over the screen or the S Pen over the screen, and suddenly it would open something, and I'd be like, what's happening? And I guess I hold my finger or the S Pen over the screen and more than I thought I did, and that's something I didn't realize I did until it started opening things without me touching the screen. One of the first things people want to know about a smartphone is, hey, how's that battery life? Is it any good? Samsung was able to put a 5,000 milliamp hour battery in this phone. That's about as much milliamp hours as anybody could ever possibly want, and they still were able to keep the S Pen in its little butthole home. So that's good. That's impressive. But I will say over these first few days that the battery has been draining faster than I expected it to. Now, I got it out of the box. It had 70%, and I had to plug it in before the end of the day. I'm not gonna ding it for that. But over the course of the last couple of days, it just has been draining faster than I thought it would. I usually check email, social media, etc., while I have a cup of coffee in the morning. And when I pulled this off the charger, like this morning, I hadn't even started to check my email, and it went from 100% down to 98%, and it was definitely below 95% by the time I got through that process. As I was writing this, it was down to 80%, and now it's down to 75%. It just seems to be decreasing really quickly. I did do some photos and some video and other things to test those out, but otherwise I have not used the phone very, very much at all today. So I'm going to keep an eye out for that. Android has had battery optimization algorithms and such on board for the last several iterations. It learns how you're using the phone and adjusts how you're using the phone so the battery life is better. And I definitely know that there hasn't been time for any of that to happen with this so far. So right now, I'm keeping an eye on the battery life. It should be fantastic at 5,000 milliamp hours, but it is draining a little bit more than I would expect it to right at this moment. In terms of performance, I mean, we've long been past the point where any flagship phone should struggle to do any of the basic things that phones do. And I can say so far with this, no hiccups whatsoever, fast, snappy, whatever adjective you want to use. It's just doing what it's supposed to do. And at $1,200, in 2022, that's exactly what it should be doing. The face recognition, I can say, works better on this phone than it has on any other Android phone, except for maybe that Google Pixel 4 that then they had to take it off. Anyway, the fingerprint reader, faster, better than it's been before. It works almost every time, and you can use it just like boom, and it goes. That's nice. Even if the screen is dark, you can use the fingerprint reader as long as you know where it is on the screen. And the one thing that I've found that I'm not sure if it was the case or not in the past, but face unlock and fingerprint reader can be active at the same time, which is different than what I've experienced in the past, and it makes it a little bit more reliable than just one or the other by themselves. And of course, you can't talk about a phone, especially a phone of this stature, without talking about the camera. The S22 Ultra's cameras are actually like not really all that different than the S21 Ultra's cameras. I'm sure there are some software differences and that sort of thing. But overall, the S21 Ultra's cameras were surprising to me quite often last year. I found myself using the S21 Ultra camera for things like, product shots and thumbnails, etc., over my iPhone 12 Pro Max. And I don't think that's ever happened before. I haven't really honestly been able to make too much use of the phone, but I'm going to be putting some pictures up on my Instagram, the Jason T. Lewis, Twitter, etc. So you can follow me there if you want to see some pictures that I'm taking. Overall, though, I'm impressed with what I'm seeing. I will say, though, that for the first time, I've started using the S Pen as the shutter button for the camera, and it's actually been really effective. And what I like about it is it offers so much more flexibility if you are shooting yourself and you want to do some content creation or whatever. You got a tripod, you just take this with you. Or if you actually want to be in photos with your family on vacation or whatever, just that alone makes the S Pen a really fantastic accessory. And the S Pen does a heck of a lot more than that. The only concern I have about the camera right now is I did notice as I was doing the testing that the phone got really pretty hot. After testing the photo and video for just a few minutes, like maybe 10 minutes of some photos, clips here and there, not anything long-term, not a 10-minute long video. Maybe it's normal for it to get this hot, but it was hot to the touch when I picked it up, and it's just not something that I feel like I've seen on smartphones as much in the past couple of years. That could also be something that contributed to the battery drain that I've been seeing today. It's something that you should be aware of. It's something that I'm going to keep an eye on. But if you're a heavy camera user, I would definitely do the rounds of other videos, people who do a lot of camera-related content, and see if they're having the same experience. Finally, I can't make a review of a phone with an S Pen without talking about the S Pen. I mean, the S Pen has always been my favorite accessory for any phone, except for maybe the headphone jack, but I'm not going to go there. I found that I like it even more this year so far. It seems more responsive when I'm taking notes or anything like that. I do know that the technology that they used for the stylus has improved a little bit, so there's that. But it's something I'm going to keep using the S Pen and report back during my full review. There's a lot more that I need to try out in the coming weeks with this phone. It's impossible to cover even half of what a phone like the S22 Ultra can do. I mean, Samsung has always been known as a everything but the kitchen sink developer when it comes to their phones, especially with the Note phones. And the S22 Ultra still lives up to that pedigree. Sometimes I feel like maybe it's too much. Like, I don't know what I should be doing, but I know I've barely scratched the surface of what this phone can do. And honestly, I'm pretty psyched to dig in, to tell you the truth. I wasn't sure if I would be, but then again, I wasn't sure if I would like the S21 Ultra last year, and it turned out to be, maybe my favorite Samsung phone thus far. This, with the S Pen, basically being a Note, is quite possibly going to be my favorite Samsung phone of all time. But do stay tuned for the full review. Also, I wanted to let you guys know that I've launched jasontlewis.com. That's just jasontlewis.com. I'm posting blog posts to go along with all the videos now, as well as blog posts that aren't attached to videos. And I'm launching my mailing list, which is going to bring some exclusive content to people who are signed up for that. In addition, there are links to all of the writing and music stuff that I've done over the years and the new stuff that I'm doing right now. So if you're interested in any of that, go over there and sign up for the mailing list. Check out the website. Let me know what you think. There's a link down in the description below, of course, but really it's just jasontlewis.com. Finally, the question everybody's been asking, should you buy the S22 Ultra? If you don't have the S21 Ultra, then yes, I think you should. It's a refinement of both those devices and worth the investment if you're a Samsung lover. If you have either of those phones, you don't need to go out and get this phone. But like I said, it is a refinement, and Samsung makes it so easy to upgrade from last year's phone to this year's phone. You get it for so cheap. They give you such incredible trade-in deals that sometimes I wonder if they just are charging us too much for these phones overall. Will it replace my iPhone as my everyday phone? I don't know. But I will say that so far, it's got a puncher's chance. We shall see. Stay tuned for the full review coming up in a week or so. But otherwise, until then, thanks so much for being here. My name is Jason T. Lewis. This has been my first 72 hours with the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra. Until the next time, I'm out.